use it too often though, because we don't know if you use it. Right. I think if I am certain, we are actually live on Twitch right now. Hello, everybody.
Bang bang. What's going on?
I don't know what that noise was.
Hey Matt, how are you, by the way? How are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
I am top, thank you. Yeah, really, really good. Having a great evening. Made myself a paella.
Nice.
Was late to this meeting because I made that paella.
You could have told me that. I love food so much. I'll just take that as any excuse for pretty much anything. So yeah.
Probably could have just over the shoulder, first person. This is how I make the paella. That could have been the interview.
You could just there eating a bowl of it, just be talking us through
Paella
it.
is a premium dish.
It is, yeah. It's time as well, and patience is respectable.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
And I'm very proud of how it came out as well.
Fantastic.
Good.
You should be.
So I had oh god, I'm sorry.
No, you go on, Ethan. You're probably going to talk more about food, and that's totally fine. This is a great start to this.
Noodles, so it's not like anything interesting. That paella sounds good, but I had enough bread pot noodles.
Like an off-brand one as well.
Yeah, like Lidl's own.
Oh fuck, man. Well, I feel really bad now, and I feel like I've just rubbed your nose in my really middle class home cooked meal.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good.
Right, I'm just going to get this zoom up, not Zoom, the Twitch up. Right, so how have you been for starters? For the last, I think I saw you about 2 years or so ago. But how's the last 12 months been? Let's get that out of the way first.
Yeah. Let's get out of the way because what's dead boring is the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Of everyone's lives.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm actually doing real good. It felt like the end of the fucking world for a long time, especially after having released an album and then a few days later it'd been yeah, you can't do anything. But over the month, a little bit. But over the months, kind of learning to accept your fate. We're resilient people, we all are. Everyone's more resilient than they think they are, and generally you start to learn how to make the best of it.
I'll just quickly interrupt you there. I think we have Tom on the line.
Woo!
Let's see how
He's
this goes.
really there.
Yes,
he is.
In the darkness.
Hey man, it's quite ominous, isn't it?
Tom coming to you from the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah. No.
Can you hear us all right, Tom? Oh,
I love it if he was driving out, just
I don't want to see the dash cam footage of this.
Yeah.
I think it's connecting now.
Oh wait.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
yes,
there we are.
What's going on?
Wait, hello.
What's going on? You all right?
Yeah, not bad. How are you?
Not too bad,
we're
thank
good,
you.
man. I hope we were just laughing that we hope it wasn't you who was driving, but it seems like there's someone else. Yeah.
You can't call, but I can do a Zoom meeting while driving.
Yeah, no, just multitasking. That's very 2020 of you.
Do you know what I mean? That's my hobby. That's my hobby that I've learned over lockdown is multitasking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Sorry.
We were just on the topic of the last 12 months actually, and Matt was going through sort of how it's been for himself. I'm guessing you may sort of share some of the sentiments, but yeah, how's the last 12 months been for you?
It's been mental, really. It's actually the last 12 months for me is based. My life's kind of completely changed. I was in a really long job for about 14 years, and over lockdown, and while I was on furlough, I decided to quit that job and try myself, becoming self-employed, and and kind of making my own money that way, really. So I've kind of everything's flipped for me, really. So it's been a very, very odd but a very amazing year, which is kind of strange to say for me. So
yeah, I know what you mean, man. It's been crazy. I know, Matt, you mentioned earlier, sometimes it just feels like a dream almost, isn't it? Coming out of it now and being seeing the end of the tunnel. Do you know what I mean? It's wild, isn't it? Very strange.
It does feel like the last 12 months just didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's like we kind of fell asleep in March 2020 and then have gone, oh, it's the next day.
Yeah, but you're still not allowed outside.
still not allowed to do anything. Like
No.
it'd be a weird thing to wake up to actually if you kind of fell asleep at this time last year and like, oh yeah, the whole world is a different place to be.
Yeah,
I feel like it's sort of like my ideal world if it wasn't this I've been told to stay at home, because normally I love staying at home and not doing anything, and now you're told that that's all you're allowed to do. It's a bit of a different beast, I suppose.
no.
That's
Yeah.
like ultimate stubbornness.
Yeah.
What you mean? I have to stay inside. I don't want him anymore.
Yeah, now I'm being told I have to stay inside. I want to go for a run, which is something that I never do. Like, or go and like congregate with hundreds of people in a park. Like,
Yeah.
let's say happy birthday to Common Sense Holiday, because it was what, last week, I think, a year old.
Hey.
2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago.
Nice.
I'll let you guys sing it happy birthday. I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to shy away from the people that are watching this right now. But how's that been? I know, like you said, it was a bit of a strange time to release a record, especially with the tour sort of not being able to happen and stuff. But how has the reaction at least been for you guys? Because I mean, I personally fucking love it because it's an absolute beast of a record. But how have you guys found it?
It's just been odd, you know. Like, I absolutely love that record. I'm really, really, really proud of it. But it's because the way that we gauge if a record or a song is doing well is from that instant feedback that you get from playing it live, is from playing it in a room full of people and them reacting to you and showing their appreciation for it. But because that aspect of our band's not been there, and that's very like that's the foundations of our band is playing this stuff live. Mm-hmm. I don't quite know how the album's done and how it's gone down. Like, it's amazing to chat to people and like you just said then, like you love the record and you think it's a piece of a record, but I still don't have that feedback from people because we've not been able to go out there, and it feels strange to look at the cover of the record and be like, I haven't stood behind a merch desk with that on it and directly sold. Like, tons of people have it, but I've not been the one handing it over, so I don't believe it ever happened.
I suppose that's sort of been the ethos with you guys as musicians, I suppose, is it's the live show. Like, obviously you got to have the songs to make the live show what it is, but the live show's always been, it's almost like bang on 50-50, I would say, with it, because the sort of extreme nature, if you will, of like a Baby Godzilla show, a Hex show, a Haggard Cat show, like pinned and twinned with the songs and everything together is the perfect match, really. And being able to see people, actually physically see people's reactions to how you play the tracks and speaking to them afterwards must like be it, really, I guess, for you. That's like the sword in the stone, I suppose.
Yeah, I think for like you said, for me and Matt, every band that we've been in, it's all about the live. It's all about live setting. It's all about the instant feedback from people. It's always about the atmosphere. It's always about delivering that live kind of thing, and everything else kind of is secondary, really. And because we've not been able to do that, which is basically the main part of our kind of like lives and what really gets us going, we have to kind of, you have to wait for reviews to come through, and it's like it's just odd. It's been strange.
Is it weirder reading people's words rather than having it said, like shouted it to you after a show after people have lost their hearing? Like,
yeah. It's weird, but at the same time, it's still nice. Like, we've had, on the whole, I think pretty much just all favourable kind of reviews of it, which is great. So it's been amazing. But yeah, it's just when you kind of know when you go to play a gig anyway, like which one turns out to be your favourite track. And you kind of like, you go, oh, I think people are going to like this one live, and then it could completely flip, and they'll like something that you don't even think. And some songs work better live, and some don't, and it's bizarre just not being able to play it at all.
Yeah.
But we will soon, so I can't wait for that. So
yeah, it's going to be good. Talking of sort of like flipping things and that, I was watching the Rational music video earlier. Which was wild, man. What was sort of like the idea? Well, I mean, without giving it away to people, what was the inspiration for that, and how did that sort of come about, the thought process on that video?
I think at the time, like I should say at the top of this that we were working with a good friend of ours, Dan Sturgis, on that video, and he was a big part of coming up with that idea. We kind of met with him in his hometown to kind of talk it through, and we thought it was absolutely hilarious. But where we were coming from at the time is we were just fucking done with music videos. We were like, we were done with, like, I mean, we've always kind of been done with the idea of a traditional music video anyway. I think they're a bit silly, they're gratuitous, and like, if you're not saying something with your music video, if you're not putting something in front of the people that they've not seen before, or that moves a conversation forward, then there's no point in it being there. But at this point, because of where we were in our career, because of what we'd been through in every video for Common Sense Holiday so far and the release of the album, we were just a bit done and a bit tired. So as soon as somebody pitched an idea to us that was like the anti-marketing video, it was like, this is going to do the opposite of market your band, and this is going to do the opposite of give people a music video, and it's going to be a big old punk rock middle finger to that. I was in. I was like, yeah, I'll lie down on my face for a whole video.
All the PR as well. When we I remember when we actually filmed the video, we sent the final video to our label at the time. The label, they were basically like, their response was, "I really hope you filmed another one where you're actually playing." and we were just like, "Nope, this is the video." They were like, "We can't PR this. No one will touch it." And we're just like, "Yes, they will." And they were like, "No, they won't. They'll hate it." And we were like, just fucking do your job.
Yeah, just do something that's against the norm. Just
yeah. And lo and behold, we released the video and people liked it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Like, they were worried that, oh, so many people are going to get offended. So many people are going to be. It's like, they won't. Like, they won't. It's just a fun video. Like, they were just panicking. It's funny, but
it's so funny, like, how much they worried about, like, offending somebody as, like, an extreme record label. As, like, they're known, like, this is earache, so they're known for, like, they cut their teeth doing extreme music with extreme ideas, and now to be so frightened of your own shadow, seems really, really weird. But I think everyone in the industry is anyway, due to the way that our culture is at the moment and the way we're going. But even with it, it was just, I remember, like, approaching, like, obviously, like, within your friendship group and your fans who are the more sensitive people. So I approached a few people who I would do, you're quite in tune with what's going on in the world, and you're quite empathetic and in tune with those things. So I even spoke to them, like, would give them the video ahead of time and was like, does this offend you in any way? And they watched it and went, it's hilarious. I think it's fine for me and Tom to put a video forward where we die, because it's up to us and we're the ones dying.
I love if the people are like, oh, so what's the meaning behind it? You're like, just fucking
it's just
about.
silly.
Like,
yeah.
Like, the opposite of having a meaning. That's the whole. I guess that was the whole sort of point, really.
Like, it kind of did have a meaning. Yeah, the meaning was more that it was having an idea that was just being completely stopped and held back. Like, and that's how we felt at the time. Is every idea that we came up with was twisted in some way or halted by the powers that be. So yeah, that's that it was the most visual representation you could ever have. That was
well. That brings us nicely to. I know you alluded to, like, no longer with earache for this, that, and the other, but now having the, as you put, the fully DIY. That probably, in my opinion, is knowing you guys, is probably the best for you, because, like I said to you before, yeah, like, the financial element may also make things a bit trickier, but the control element now is literally just in your hands. So if you want to do something, you're not having to jump through hoops, or, appease a PR agent, or someone who wants to try and put something on the front cover of NME magazine. You just go, we're Matt and Tom, we're Haggard Cat, this is what we do, like, and people will like it, and that, do you feel like it's worked better for you? Or I suppose you've not really had much chance to test that out now, but I guess the feeling of freedom must be quite nice.
Yeah, I think we've always felt like that our entire life. Like, we've always felt through any band, whatever we've ever done, we've always felt like we would DIY. We've always had ideas that people, you know, that were in the industry would you know, wouldn't help us with, but we're like, well, why not? So we'll just do it anyway. Like, you know, and when we got a label, we were very kind of adamant that, you know, we have a lot of ideas, we want to do this, we want to do that, and they were, you know, on the whole supportive at the start, but then, you know, everything became twisted and everything became, you know, slightly different. So we've kind of like going back to DIY, like you say, we've not really lost anything. We've just gained our freedom. We've gained kind of how we normally like to do things, how we're comfortable, you know. And if we want to do another music video where we both get shot, we'll just do it, and no one will tell us. No one can tell us to stop, because it's like.
I like the idea that that's always on the table.
That's the idea for every Haggard Cat video from now on.
Like, no matter what's happening in the music video, at any point during it, someone, like, there could be a gunman, and that's the video and the song.
Yeah, it's been you know, I'm happy again. I'm happy to go at it. Like you said, the financial money comes and goes. It forces you to think differently. It forces you to think creatively. But the idea of music videos and you know, everything that comes with it, me like the way people do things. You know, you can shoot things on phones now. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need loads of money to shoot crazy big music videos. You can do, if you're creative enough, you can just, you know, do whatever you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. That's
for a potato.
Well, while we're on I just want to say another birthday. Last week it was the birthday for Instructions, the Heck album, which again, ridiculous. Like, I remember listening to it. I used to work in an office and would sit with my headphones on Spotify, and I could guarantee I was the only person in the office just wanting to get up and have a mosh in front of everyone. But I want to specifically, if it's okay, talk about that last track just for a little while, just because I remember having a chat with Tom about it, if he remembers. I think it's Halloween when you played in Cardiff, and he mentioned to me that it turned up to rehearsal and just said he'd written a Pink Floyd song, which I guess, like, when you listen to the track, maybe in your head, I guess it was like this crazy sort of weaving path of music, but it's a bit heavier than I think some of Dave Gilmour might put his name to. How does a band that writes such like succinct, powerful, like 2, 3, 4 minute tracks, how did you then stick that at the end of a record? What was the thought and rationale behind it?
Because we love Pink Floyd.
Yeah,
Okay, fair.
Literally exactly that. It was like, how do you kind of get that inspiration of, like, Pink Floyd are like one of mine and Tom's in particular, like, favorite bands of all time. Like, that's one thing that when we first met as kids we bonded over, was like, I think one of the first Pink Floyd album we bonded over was weirdly like the last one. Like, we bonded over the Division Bell and was like, love this album.
Yeah.
And that's not like the one you're supposed to like. That's like the one where they're past it and they're not really making Pink Floyd music.
So that's the one where your dad gives it to you and goes, listen to this, and you go, I'm not listening to that rubbish, Dad. Like,
Exactly. But we were both like into that and into every aspect of them, but there was no real way of conveying that influence in Heck's music because it was so polar opposite. But I still wanted to, I think the influence instead came across in a song that took you on a journey and brought back musical themes throughout. Like, it was still very much Heck song. Like, it definitely doesn't sound like Pink Floyd. Like, it's idea after idea after idea after idea, but instead of it just being that, the kind of concept behind it was you'd have a big group of ideas and then it would come back to the initial idea.
Yeah.
And then it would explore a different path from that first idea again for another movement. And then it would return back to that first idea and it would take a third path. It was kind of like different timelines. And after 60 minutes, you've exhausted every timeline that I could possibly gone through.
I remember watching you perform it at Club Before Back in Cardiff when you were on tour with Black Peaks. and like listen to the record over and over before the show and be like, they can't possibly like play a 16-minute track and like with a 35-minute like window for a show to play. And when you did it, like I remember it being like that was absolute carnage. That show was, if I remember Johnny grabbing the merch table and pulling it to the middle of the room, and there was a circle pit around him all the while this like piece of music was sort of continuously like creating itself more and more throughout as it sort of built and things. And I mean, fair fucking play is what I'm saying, because it was pretty nuts, man.
Is it speaking from a drummer's perspective, it's a hard song to play. But what was a little bit of trivia about that song, if Matt, you can remember, you'll remember this, but there's I think in part 1 there's a riff that kind of goes dun, 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 dun. It's like it's like a riff that shouldn't be there, basically. Haggard Cat's first ever gig, and the reason we're a band at all, we got offered a gig like that evening, and we made up a set on the spot, and we played it at Rock City, and we jammed that riff at the first ever Haggard Cat gig. And then that riff eventually turned its way into that song,
Nice.
to be on the last Heck record. So I thought that was quite cool, because we played it we played that at the first Haggard Cat gig, and that ended up on the last track of the Heck album about 7 years later.
It's only ever good if you plagiarize yourselves. Let's be honest. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
there are no new ideas.
Yeah.
So yeah, with sort of the whole, if we could go back a bit to sort of the Baby Godzilla days, sort of the earlier sort of thing. So I remember you saying that the timeline can be a little bit sort of skewed and depending on who you're speaking to, really. In your guys' opinion, what sort of came first? Was it Haggard Cat, or was it Baby Godzilla, or was it something altogether different and then it sort of led on from there?
I would say Baby Godzilla came first, but Haggard Cat came quite soon after. But the connection that, like, the ethos and the music and that comes out of Haggard Cat was at the very core of me and Matt from day one.
That's kind of how we started Baby Godzilla, was me and Tom jamming in the way that we write Haggard Cat songs anyway. And I guess it's kind of in a very neat way that, as I was saying, from See the Old Lady, from that last track on the Heck record, it's like a different timeline. Like with Heck, like we'd take those jams and turn them and be like, right, how can we push ourselves to the absolute limit in this song and play something that is the absolute outer realms of what we're capable of playing.
Mm-hmm.
And with Haggard Cat, we'd take that same jam and instead of doing that, we'd kind of go, how can we take this jam and turn it into a song that anyone in their right mind would want to listen to?
Yeah. Perfect. There's the review. Straight down now.
No, that was good. Sorry, I was trying to pay attention, but I was also just watching the phone like camera move around.
Panning around. Where are you being chauffeured to, Tom?
I'm being chauffeured back home.
Okay. Nice. How long have we got you for? Is it until you get home, basically?
Well, actually, I've got 4% on my battery.
Okay.
But it'll be fun. It should hold up for a bit, but I'll let you know if the screen goes black mid talk, you know that I'd like to be there, but my phone.
We'll just direct all the questions at you now for the next 4% of your phone, and then Matt can fill in.
Get your battery's worth out of Tom for now.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
This is the best one we've done so far, by the way. I'm loving this.
Yeah, it's very free form. It's as we said earlier. It's a bit like jazz, isn't it? You know, it's just.
Thank you for thank you for saying the nice words about instructions. By the way, like it was a very big part of mine and Matt's life that when we did Haggard Cat, we kind of wanted to distance ourselves from it, because we didn't want it to just be the side project of Heck.
Yeah.
We wanted Haggard Cat to be its own entity, like its own band, and we've kind of, in a way, we've refused to kind of talk about Heck because, you know, a lot of the early days of Haggard Cat when we were really kind of pushing it. And to be honest, we were quite a young band anyway. Like we were kind of like, people would ask us like about Heck, and we were like, you know, talk to us about Haggard Cat. But we're just kind of like, we're happy to talk. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just nice to talk about it.
Well,
Like, it was like a really nice part.
It's part of the journey, I guess. Like, me and Ethan have been lucky enough to speak to a lot of musicians who have been in bands in the past that sort of aren't together anymore, and they move on to new projects. So Sean Smith's one of the prime examples of it, where you could, I guess, if there are parts of it you didn't like at the time, etc., you sort of grow from that, and then you look back on it and go, actually, if it wasn't for XYZ, we wouldn't be doing, you know, ABC now. So thank you for obviously talking about it anyway for starters. But I mean, I basically put instructions on the weekly, and mostly cook my dinner to it in the kitchen, which my neighbors enjoy because they're always banging on the walls, usually in time to the music. So that's doing okay.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, like, time heals all wounds through a lot of things, but there's no really denying that it is part of our journey, and that's as much a part of our life as Haggard Cat is a part of our life now, and we wouldn't be creating the music we are now without it. And I think it's important to acknowledge it.
So what's the sort of, let's do a bit of a timeline then, from Instructions coming out to Challenger coming out, because obviously there's a couple of years between that. How was it like? I know you say we don't necessarily be attached as Heck for Haggard Cat. This is a completely different thing. But for you guys personally, and I suppose in the songwriting side to it, was it easy or was it hard to sort of make that journey across to releasing this beast here?
I don't think it wasn't difficult at all. Also, we should probably acknowledge that Tom's dropped out.
Yeah. I wasn't sure whether he'd just gone for the audio there, but we'll say thanks to Tom now.
Oh dear.
But to answer the question, no, it didn't. There was never like a conscious change in style or a change in, now we're writing for this, stop thinking like that. We were always writing the Haggard Cat material anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of what's on Challenger was kind of written alongside the same time as Instructions as well. Like, it's just me and Tom never really stopped kind of playing and recording down ideas, and what sticks becomes the albums. But now we have this second outlet. It never was intended to replace Heck either. It was always kind of, we had both bands, and one was not getting any more attention than the other, but Heck kind of ran its natural course. And so me and Tom were in the very lucky position that we already had an album to go ready for the next, or ready to record, I should say. Ready for the next. So yeah, it was never really a conscious shift from one to the other. They were both there. We were just very lucky that we didn't have to stop making music, because I don't think I could.
Do you have, so I do know this, but you have your own space, don't you, basically, where everything's set up, and you've done, like, towards the end of last year, you did a bunch of live stuff from there, didn't you? How is having, this is for any musicians who are listening, or young musicians listening, how is having your own space sort of, I suppose, better than not having your own space, I suppose, but when it comes to the songwriting or the creative process to it? Because I guess even just sitting in a rehearsal room, you have a different mindset, don't you? To just sitting on the bus writing lyrics, for example.
If you're in a rehearsal room, is I've got X amount of time to create, to achieve something. So you're always against the clock there. I never really take it for granted that we have this room, especially not for the last year, for the last 12 months. It's been an absolute lifesaver. It's kept my mental health in check, like just having it. And we are so lucky to have it. We've literally had this space, which is a room that we rent and share with a couple of friends of ours, but me and Tom pretty much are the only two that are actively using it at the moment. We've had it for 10 years, give or take. And yeah, we are so lucky. And I think if we took it for granted that we had this space, it would be an absolute crime on our band, really. But you're right, like, different rooms have different energies, which probably makes you write in a different way. That room is our safe space, and we kind of know that anything goes in there, and we have as much time and as much freedom to explore it as imaginable. So that probably creates the free form nature of both our bands that have been, that you'll know's music, is that we feel we can try anything we want in there. So it gets more experimental and it gets a bit wild at times. And there's no one kind of knocking on the door to kind of say,
10 minutes left.
Yeah, exactly.
No ringing the bell, like.
It's like, okay, then repeat the chorus twice and we're done. Okay.
No, I suppose, yeah, because I mean, I've had a space before where I used to share with a band that, you like I said, you can just sit in a place that you feel comfortable in, and you don't even have to have your guitar on your lap or be sat at the drums to just be feeling. Bless you, by the way, Ethan. There.
Thank you.
You don't have to have your instrument to be feeling creative. So I guess, I mean, you've fully utilized it with those live streams that you did last year. But you mentioned to us before we went live. Secret, everyone, we have a conversation with the people we're talking to before we go live. You know, it might not seem like that, but we definitely do. You mentioned how you were stressing about, you know, the going live on Facebook and live on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. How's that sort of been for you? The technology side to it, I guess, having to do live streams.
An adjustment for sure. I think, not just for us. I think for all bands, everyone's had to become an expert in the way that the technology of social media and live streaming works. Whereas the craft was going on tour and playing a great show and knowing how to do that day in, day out, and knowing how to pace yourself with that and how to create a great show in that way. Now that has switched on its head, and it's how do you create an engaging environment online through a phone screen? And how do you run the tech of that? Like I was saying to you, like, as you will have found from setting this up, the most stressful thing in the world is I've told people Twitch is going live at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. I feel like I've put the pressure on myself, like, so I don't let Ethan do it. And I think it's more so, I think I just might like the pressure. Just like, there might be like a dozen people waiting to watch it and it's just all on me. Like, I'm just sat here having a lovely chat, you know, and they're waiting for it all on me to.
We're talking about paella and pot noodles. And live.
I mean, that was top drawer chat. Let's not knock that.
That was, yeah.
So yeah, Challenger was out 3 years ago now, coming up to. Again, like I said, I've got a copy of it here because I thought, why not put it on display next to a proper old school Baby Godzilla / Goddamn
nice
collab thing there.
I spotted that in the background. That's a cool poster.
I'll try not to make a mess. These
Oh god. Challenger's met the dust.
This was one of the best shows that I've ever been to. Custard Factory Record Store Day 2015. I think it was Left for Dead Records.
That was the one, yeah.
And yeah, big good friends with Tom from Goddamn, and he's always got fucking lovely things to say about me. But this is the guy. I suppose this kind of like changed it, really, didn't it? Having this released. You know, I mean, it's fucking smashing, but
it was
smashed it, I should say. But yeah,
it was the first record that me and Tom, throughout our entire careers, like Haggard Cat, Heck, Baby Godzilla, predating Baby Godzilla even, that we've ever been on a record label for.
Right.
We've never released anything on a record label until that. And that in itself's been a learning curve. Like, we were quite excited about it at the time, and we quickly kind of learned that we've got stuck in our ways very much, and we're used to getting our own way and being free and coming up with all these dumb ideas that aren't generally accepted as the proper way to do things in the music industry, but we still wanted to do them. So I think we just spent 2 years of our lives really riling up a record label by coming up with stupid ideas. Oh, we're doing them, and they'd say no, and we'd do them anyway, and then there'd be a meeting the next week.
Yeah.
I've been called into the headmaster's office.
Literally. It's like, what have they done now?
Yeah.
Oh, those two. Oh.
They're too extreme for our extreme label.
By the way, we're not shitting on Earache, I promise. It's just, I guess personally, it's kind of hard to hear that such a label that loads of people know and respect can sort of not work for guys like you, where you said that, yeah, you might be on the sort of extreme side to the music back in your early days and stuff, but you've got your head screwed on. Like, it's not like you're just doing stuff to take the piss. Like, there is method in the madness, I guess, from it. Like, it does
always that method always kind of tends to be, if something's worth doing, it's worth doing like 150%. Like, it's like if you're going to do an idea, commit to it and don't rein it in by the standards of what you would expect a band to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was the large problem with us being on a record, is on a record label, was we couldn't explore those ideas in that way. There was always a boundary, and then another boundary, and then another person to appease to, and then another. And yeah, it just didn't suit us. It didn't suit us.
Now you just need to hand Tom a beer and be like, do you want to do this? And he goes, yeah.
Exactly. It's fucking great. Well, I'll let you know in maybe like 6 months' time, when we're all able to go out on the road again and we're releasing music again, like how great it is being on our own. I hope it works out. Like it always worked for Heck in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels good, and we've got everything planned, and we know that no like record label manager is going to take this plan that we've written down on paper and go, no, we're not doing any of that.
Yeah.
Which actually happened. With the last record.
That doesn't sound great.
There was a physical like plan written out, like painstakingly planned out from us, like blow by blow, day by day. This is what's going to happen. This is how we see this record being a success. And at that first meeting, the label manager took the piece of paper and said, "We don't like plans," and balled it up and threw it in the bin and went, "Okay, so what happens next?" And then there was no plan. They had nothing to back it up with.
I suppose you wouldn't mind if they did, like if there was a bit of a backup to it, because then at
know
least
what?
you go, all right, 3 hands up, go.
If someone tells you an idea's shit, that sucks, but it's fine if they come up with and here's another idea. If someone says, no, I don't like that idea, and then stares out of a window, what good is that?
Okay, like the idea's still here, what are we going to do with it? But
well, I don't have any more. Do you have any? Like,
so talking about, obviously, we all want to go to shows. Our good friend, mine and Ethan's good friend, Minty's just jumped in and said it will feel incredible to be able to go out again and go to shows and stuff. Obviously, you were supposed to be going on tour in the next sort of 7 or 8 days. Sorry. But I know, like, it's hard to. You can't just announce everything and everything. But I guess just to put people's mind at ease, you want to go on tour. You're gonna go and scream at people for half an hour and then drive 4 hours to another place and scream at them for half an hour and sound check for 3 hours and all that sort of stuff. But what's the plan in your mind, at least? What's the plan for it for the rest of the year?
Well, it's definitely not a cancellation. We like for our entire career. Again, I feel like I'm using that for our entire career. We have thought that, like, I feel
you sound like James
Hetfield. A little bit soapboxy, holier than thou. but,
career? What's that?
What is career? You haven't made a penny your entire life as a musician.
That's why you're chatting to us.
No, we don't cancel shows. That's like one of our fundamental like principles. We don't cancel. We've been working with our team for the last like 3 months, kind of knowing that this March tour couldn't really happen in March. And now, as we all know, like legally we can't tour. So we worked with our agent, and every date of this has been upped and has a date booked in place in September, which is going to sound like deja vu because we've moved this tour 3 times. It'll be like the 4th incarnation of this fucking tour.
That's rough. That's rough.
It's rough, and it should be demotivating, but every time it happens, I'm like, yeah, there are the dates. Let's go.
Let's go.
Well, it's like I was saying to you, it just feels like stuff was put on. I hate thinking everything stopped, because it hasn't, because everything's been put on pause, because the second something gets announced again, I've noticed it more recently, so where people have announced like rescheduled shows for, let's say, for example, they were supposed to take place this June and they've been moved to like next February. People are buying tickets for next February because next February makes sense to them, and they can see it. They can see it happening, and they're like,
it's
"Oh,
light
cool!"
at the end of the tunnel. Like the buying a ticket online is just kind of that admission that I am going to go to this show. Like it's not always going to be me sat in my bedroom like waiting till I can go back outside again. Like this is a thing that exists. It's tangible.
I had to try and remember what my Dice login was the other day, because I was like, I'm gonna look at shows. Like, it almost got to the point where I couldn't remember if I'd bought tickets to shows that had been rescheduled because it had been so long, and I was like, I need to try and get onto this, because when you don't open an app on your phone for Christ knows how long, and it's just like you need to log in again. You're like, fuck, I can't remember what the login for that is. So I probably got tickets for shows for the next 12 months without even having a clue that they've been moved over and stuff. But I'm really glad to hear that the tour is happening in September.
Yeah,
Obviously, like
we'll
touch wood
we'll
and all
announce
that.
the exact dates. I believe we're announcing it Thursday or Friday this week. But there'll be a new poster will come out with all those dates on.
Amazing.
Just to kind of reassure everybody, because obviously we're not playing in Liverpool on the 23rd of March.
No, ignore what the internet says, because it's all lies on the internet at the moment, isn't it?
The internet's full lies, unless it's our announcement on Thursday/Friday, in which case all
that's the truth.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah.
For people sort of who know me and Ethan, who are South Wales, you guys playing in Swansea, aren't you? That's the South Wales sort of thing. Is it a bunkhouse? Am I right in thinking that?
Swansea,
cool.
Yeah.
I've heard really good things about that venue. In all honesty, like I think I accidentally met the father of the guys who put the shows on there. I was working in the pub that Ethan works in. And this guy was like, "Oh, you put music on?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, my son's put music on." You know, when you hear that thing like, "Oh, my son's in a band," and you're like, "Okay, Dad." But he was like, "Oh, no, my sons do the bunkhouse and they book all these shows up and everything's been booked in." And like, I've only heard really good things from that since then. That was good almost 2 years ago now. So I think
they're good guys that put on those shows, and we played there once before. We played there right at the start of 2020, actually. Did a tour with In Me, and we played in there, and it's great. We also, I can't remember what the name of the venue was, because there was a venue there before, and we played in that venue with Heck. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, there's definitely a photo of me like in the middle of the road next to the bus, like with a mic cable just stretched like
as far as it will go, garroting people as they walk past, getting off the bus. Like.
Yeah, just people honking their horns and like, "What the fuck are you doing? It's Swansea on Tuesday night."
I wish I could find the photograph I took of you. This was
before
before I knew you, because I mean we've been friends for a couple of years now. But from that Baby Godzilla goddamn show, like I said, friends with Tom. Tom was like, "Come down to this," and then we were like, "Okay, cool." I got a photograph of you hanging upside down from a railing outside the custard factory, but also you disappeared for a moment, and you were then on a roof. Just outside, and people were sort of looking up at you. I could see people were just coming in to see what was going on, because it was a big outdoor space that you're playing on, that little fountain thing in the custard factory, if anyone else is aware of that in Birmingham. And there was just a man with a guitar screaming on a roof, and it was like, for us that was normal in Digbeth, but for a lot of people it was sort of like, what the hell is going on?
Also, like fucking miles away from where the actual band was. So like I was playing, I was like, I had no idea if this is in time. I can't hear what's going on down there.
I remember seeing something
just
that
playing it and be like, I don't know.
Whatever.
You know when you see something and it gets etched into your brain forever. I remember seeing Johnny, and it was the moment like I saw his heart break, because you all had the wireless systems for your guitars and everything, and I guess like Johnny really didn't give two shits about his guitar at the time, because he was thrown around and stuff, whatever. And he was in the fountain in the pond, and he threw his guitar onto stage at the end, and you could see like a bit of a cheer, and then it knocked the back of his cab, and his wireless system fell into the water. And I remember looking at him, like I said, putting shows on and playing in bands. I know how much those things mean to you, but also cost. And just I could see all the adrenaline just leaked out of him straight away, and he was like, "Fuck, I have to get another one of those now, because there's just no rescuing that." But it's done.
Actually, fun fact: after that gig, he did the age-old thing, and he put the whole wireless system in rice. I'm not joking. Like, he put it in rice, and it fucking worked. Like,
fair.
Like a week or so later, he plugged it in and was like, "Yeah, fine."
Oh,
it all went in rice.
Yeah, if it was like Sennheiser or someone, you need to call them up. Like, get Johnny to call them up and be like, because I know he's just started his own like guitar electronics thing. Get him to call them up and be like, "Guys, tell you what, let's have an endorsement where I pour all of water on everything that you own. I'll see if I can bring it back to life."
I legitimately think that's exactly how Johnny has managed to start his electrics company. He's broken everything already, so he's had to fix it all already. So by default now, like,
he's the electrician.
Is that the rule? Is if it's indestructible, if he can fix it, it's indestructible, basically. Yeah. Those shows are the best, man. I've seen you guys play probably a dozen times, and I was telling Ethan just before you joined on the chat, the year that Baby Godzilla opened the main stage at Arctangent Festival, me and my friends thought it would be a good idea to camp in the main arena by the main stage, and I was sat there with my pint can of Stella and my cold pot noodle for breakfast, because it's the breakfast of champions. Ethan understands the pot noodle situation here. And just hearing the first like couple of notes of Powerboat Disaster, And like my friend Nick, who if he's watching, he'll remember this. He just looked up and he was like, I'd never seen him move so quickly, and he just ran to the stage. I remember standing and watching you from the back, and you were climbing up on the barriers and stuff. And I was like, in my heart, I was like, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. And the other side of me was like, he's done this a million times. He's like I don't know how you do it, to be honest with you. You're much braver than I am. Where did that sort of come from? I know it sounds silly because, you know, you all of a sudden the lads go, let's climb on shit. But it's kind of like part of it, isn't it? You feel something. I guess one of you may have stood on the bar once at a show with your guitar and gone, I like this. And then like, how far can you push it really?
It kind of came from like the first gig that we played, and this is over 10 years ago now. And it was like, the energy there was so fucking great. But every time you play the next show, you never want the energy to be less than that. So you kind of, there's this one-upmanship.
Yeah, trying to one-up yourselves, like, almost. Like
one-up yourselves. So as by the time we got 6 or 7 years down the line, it just reached this pinnacle of just absolute madness where, yeah, like it wasn't even about playing songs anymore. It was about, well, I'm going to see if I can jump off of that and not break my legs. Nice. That's if I don't do that, then the gig has not been a success for me.
I feel like obviously Tom's sort of out of the picture in this because he has to sit down for the majority. Because he did play a bit guitar on some of the tracks, didn't he? When they gave him, you gave him ample opportunity to. But like Paul was always the sensible one, staying on stage, holding it down. Did you and Johnny like go, right, here we go? Who's going where and who's doing what?
We were always quite careful not to. I think. Like,
I bet you would have pushed each other way too far. The idea of kind of
making it preconceived almost kind of eats the idea of like what that band was. That's probably why that's probably why it came to an end as well. Is we weren't really needed anymore. There was nothing really that was shocking anymore, and there was nothing that we hadn't really done. So it's like, that's not exciting.
That last Arctangent show where you did is it the Bixler, the second biggest stage, isn't it there?
Yes. Yeah.
There was amps being crowd surfed and all sorts of stuff going on that one. That was
it was like a fire sale.
Yeah. Did you get any of that stuff back, or did like just someone just went home with all of your backline basically? Like that was a great. No, actually, it wasn't. I remember actually it was the Bixler one was the year before, and the last one when you played on the Thursday or something, didn't you?
Yeah, we kind of played like penultimately, I think, on the Thursday. I can't remember the name of the stages there, but I think it was the third stage.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't that one. But yeah, it was fucking rammed. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
I can remember coming on stage for that and like it all hitting me at like that was, when was it, 2017? So that would have been like 8 years of a band just kind of coming to an end, and hearing that huge cheer as we walked on stage and that ram thing. Like I could barely start the set because I was like, ooh, like welling up. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Someone's just put in the chat, someone called Reva Sharkbait. She said she's still waiting on Jenny's photos from the last set, if that means anything to you.
Oh wow, yeah. Fuck. Of course, didn't even think of that.
There you go. You'll have to get a call out for someone there. We'll do what we can there, Reva. If I've pronounced your name right, obviously apologies if
Reva's the best. Like Reva deserves all the shout outs in the entire world.
Yeah, she was just insulting me for only seeing you guys a dozen times. So I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah,
I'll take that to the heart and on the chin.
They've seen us like. I'm so sorry if this is wrong, Reva, but I think in excess of like 50 times, something like that. I could be wrong. They
big innings.
Yeah.
They sent you loads of hearts.
I love that. Just getting cursed out by the viewers.
I like getting cursed out by Twitch. It's my good thing to do on a Monday.
Yeah. That's incredible.
If anyone in the comments has any questions for Matt or while we have him, please just chuck a couple of them in. Obviously, don't let me and Ethan just talk nonsense at him until we get an answer from him. So,
I was hoping to get a. I noticed on earlier. I was looking at your social medias and you posted about the last tour was Elvana, right? What was that like? It's a band I've always wanted to see, man. So it just seems like it'd be a real laugh just being on the road with them as well, you know.
Well, they're absolute gentlemen, and ladies as well, gentlemen and ladies. In that,
of course.
I would recommend going to see that band so much. Because I think on paper it just seems like a big old joke and a bit of a novelty, which they're very well aware of, and they embrace that entirely. But their mantra of the whole thing is they're playing songs that everyone really is dying to hear live, but while also taking the sadness away from what it would be to like knowing that you can't see those songs live, or what memories like those songs might bring to you about what happened in reality. Kurt Cobain. So it's a joyful way of being able to dance around and hear Nirvana live again, and they've come up with this method of doing that, and it's crazy and a bit daft, but they're aware of it, and they also, any chance that they're given, they kind of will tell you, we don't deserve to be here, but while we are, we're going to enjoy it, and we're going to like do the legacy of these songs justice. And they fucking do. Like if you kind of close your eyes and just listen to the instrumentals of like, if you hear In Bloom kick in and it's them playing, it's like they've got it spot on, like down to like the guitar tone, the bass tone, everything's fucking perfect. Like, it's great. But yeah, they're really sound people. And another part of like how they see their position in music at the minute is they know that they don't really deserve to be playing to like 3,000 people a night, but because of that, they want to showcase smaller bands as well. So they invite bands like us that have a much smaller following to open these venues that are all sold out. So they'll have a band like us, or they'll have like Hands Off Gretel in front of them, or they'll so many, like if you go on their social media, you'll see how many like underground bands they support. But yeah, I think that's a real nice way of them doing it. Is them, there's kind of a bit of guilt there about the fact that they've made a joke that's gone too far, but we've now at least got a responsibility to lift up some bands that should be playing to these people. So that's real cool.
Our friend Andrew Sanders had I think he had his stag do at the Shepherd's Bush Empire show. He's from Cardiff, at the Shepherd's Bush show. And when I found out he was going, I was like, you have to go and see Haggard Cat first. So he managed to, usually it's like stag do it's just carnage, and then you just end up where you're supposed to end up. And they made sure they turned up early and they watched you guys. And he messaged me after and he goes, thank you for that. Like, it's like, don't thank me, thank you guys for that, because all I did was just send you a text. But
that was such a good fucking show. Like, I ended up on top of the crowd during the Haggard Cat set, and then again during the Elvana set.
Amazing.
Like, I played it, and he was like, well, we're going to play Territorial Pissings, so will you come on and do the start of Territorial Pissings? And I was like, absolutely. And I just kind of went, come on, get together, and I just threw a mic.
Just launch yourself. Amazing.
Just scattered at the.
I was just like completely just like out of my mind with excitement, just like, this has been the best day ever.
We've got a question from someone called Neon Sewer. This may be quite hard to answer, but you can do your best. It says, are there any plans for any gigs outside the rescheduled tour, like a little Nottingham gig once venues are up and running again?
We're kind of playing it by ear at the moment. We've got a few people that have approached us, and I've kind of got a desire to put on something myself as well, which I've done in the past. But I quite like the idea of just getting a bunch of bands that wouldn't normally be playing together and just doing something just casual and as a warm-up, and as a kind of, rather than it being lobster into a hot pot, we're going to dip our toes in first and
see how it
play
goes,
a little bit, like play in front of a few friends. I could see, like, especially if we're talking about Nottingham, like we have the Arboretum in Nottingham and a few other outside spaces that could be utilised. I think it just takes a little bit of imagination. That I'm not promising anything at the moment, but I'd absolutely love to. And if the right thing came along or the right opportunity came along, then yeah, I'm done saying no to gigs. Not that I'd ever say no to a gig anyway, but literally, if someone kind of knocked on my window right now and was like, "Hey, you can play the kitchen,"
straight down there.
I'm there. I'm coming.
We've got two questions. One of them's great because it was sort of the last thing I was going to ask you anyway. So thank you for the person who's put that on there. So Simmons000 asks, are there any plans to do some more Shreds episodes? They said they adored being able to learn some of their favorite songs.
Oh, that's so sweet. I was actually planning a series too, yeah. And especially since we're not going out on tour this month and next month, I could see me doing a couple more episodes of that.
Amazing.
Just drop us a message and let us know what songs you want to hear, and we'll make an episode for them, either me or.
Fantastic.
That's a real nice question. I love that.
And the last question is, how's Chris? Now, I was going to ask you about Chris, and if you can go into, for people who don't know, who is Chris? Not what, who is Chris?
Chris is the third member of the band. He is what stops us from swallowing up our own arses. He is 100% down the line. He just keeps us sane. He keeps us sane, you know. I was hoping he'd be able to make an appearance today. He's actually over in Nuneaton with Tom at the moment. We had a bit of a mystery shoot with him a couple of days ago, so he's looking a little different to his normal self. He kind of pop his head in, kind of with no context, and be like, "I'm bright yellow," but he's not here. But for those in the know, I'm sure Chris says absolutely nothing at all because he doesn't give a shit about any of you.
Chris is there, isn't he? Lurking.
There he is. You can kind of see him. Kind of see his little
terrible
form there.
How did that idea come apart? Like, because I mean,
we wanted a surface. We wanted a surface to help us, like, to store one of these guys on while we were playing. That was next to the drum kit. We went to a British Home Store, found a stool, and then it turned out that it wasn't a stool at all. It was actually a sentient being, and with so much personality that we just couldn't ignore it.
He had the absolutely fantastic tour of London, didn't he?
He did.
I remember that Instagram story. For those of you that haven't seen it, I hope you archived it because.
Oh yeah, it's around.
Absolutely fucking magical. It's one of those wholesome things that you'll ever see. Right? Just taking him on a tour. He was on the tube. Did you almost lose him on the tube?
Oh yeah, we let the doors close.
What have we done?
Someone's asked if Chris is in corpse paint now.
He's Black Metal Chris.
Yeah.
That's the next album. It's his kind of black metal project.
Nice. You should do one where Chris is the front man. Just let him do his thing experiment.
I mean, like, more for me for kind of pretending that it's me, because it absolutely isn't. Like, it's all his show. I think anyone that's met him will kind of attribute that. Yeah, he's the man.
I had the privilege of carrying him to the van after a couple of shows, so it was nice. It was nice to have met him a couple of times. Hopefully, we'll see him again soon. So
he'll be out in force very soon, I'm sure.
Amazing. Well, I mean, it's coming up to 9:00 now. Unless anyone's got any other questions to drop in, thank you so much, obviously, and we thank Tom wherever he is. Hopefully, he's probably got his feet up with a cup of tea now, isn't he?
He's probably watching it, going, "Nah, you got that wrong."
Yeah, he's phone's on charge.
inaccurate.
You could quite easily just jump in at the end. But, you know. Knowing me, I've probably looked away from the screen like that, and it's popped up that he's in the waiting room, and he's gone, "Oh, fuck this," and just got back off it again. But yeah, Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
You,
obviously on a Monday evening.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, and
been
obviously we look forward to
hilarious,
seeing you on the road in September. Fingers crossed. Obviously, we
Can't fucking wait. But
get
yeah,
out and get your
absolute
jabs,
pleasure.
people, when you can.
Yeah, get your jabs, and then we might actually be able to go to like 2,000 trees as well. Like that's
Yes,
within the realm.
That would be the one.
Yeah. I think I'm doing. Are you actually, before you go, are you doing any festivals this year? Are you
2,000 trees is very much in the calendar if it can happen.
Yep.
There's a couple of things that haven't been announced just yet, and a few European things as well that are again reschedules. But we're playing it by ear. Like I don't want to kind of say this is definitely happening because I think that'd be foolish. And we've all been knocked down a few too many pegs by now. Like, yeah, I'm going and playing a gig in 2 months' time. It could.
Yeah. Well, we'll hopefully see you at Trees and see you at Arctangent if you do go. I'll
be there celebrating my birthday as always.
Amazing.
Absolutely out of my mind.
Nice.
Wicked.
Well, thank you so much, dude. And
thank
we
you.
will see you on the flip side.
On the flip side, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.